Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Um, please, I want to believe everybody can hear me, isn't it? Maybe your comments can help.
Oh, sorry, I Chooks. Your mic is muted. You might need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Apologies. I've been speaking for a while. I didn't know the mic was muted. I'm very sorry about this. My name is Chukwuduwachuku, and thanks for coming for this presentation, which basically talks about um, how to ease your Docker workflow. You save bandwidth, and then you work efficiently. So that's what we are going to be considering today. So, a little bit introduction about myself. Please, I have my introduction online somewhere. Uh, tiny.cc, tiny.cc/ICHUX, tiny.cc/ICHUX. My name is iChooks. I'm somebody who doesn't get involved in debating about programming languages, of which is superior or not. I basically believe whatever works best for you and puts food on your table is something you should go with. And I choose on some social media, ICHUX, and then something else on other places. I've listed them tiny.cc/I/ICHUX. Okay, so right now I'll be presenting my screen. Okay, so I want to believe you have access to my full screen right now. So here are some of the things that we'll be discussing. It's inside the project, and if you have access to it, it's basically here. So github.com/iChooks and then fileserver.git. You get to see this. But then, why are we doing this? Why? It's often the case that we rely on Google. Hence, I'm sure you can see this. I'm sure you can see something like this. You probably are running Docker, and then your internet comes up to mess up the whole thing. I'm sure you would have gotten something like your hard drive is about to get filled up and all those things. So how do you manage situations like this? Because we're in the era where a lot of media are being generated, graphics or what have you, and we are storing a lot. And then we had that challenge, and then we decided to solve it head on. Please, our method might not be good enough for some other people because there are a lot of options. Some people may consider using some popular options there, but then this is something I decided to use for us to understand what we have at hand. Okay, so the my part has been taken care of. Why are we doing this? We're looking at time and cost efficiency. We're looking at the vendor independence and maximizing resources. Of course, vendors could decide to change one or two things in their ability to store the data, and then you may be required to move your data somewhere as quickly as possible, and that may be a problem for you, and then maximizing resources. We're going to be learning a lot. So inside the GitHub folder, you will find a PDF where a lot of explanations are done. So there are technologies and components that we used, and they are here listed. And for the ones that are listed, I would do my best not to speak much about them. I'll just talk on some, few. So it's primarily 3.12, and I used Starlet with JWT for handling backend API. And you see this, that's a programming language. It's called Lua. It helps one to script Nginx. And I'm going to show you an example of where I did use Lua. In this place, here, line 11 to 18, you'll see this block. This is what Lua has been able to afford us. Now, for you to be able to do this, it's containerized. I used Docker, but then a special type of image is used here so that I could be able to use Lua. You would need to get access to these to work further, so my contact links are there. But then I'll show you a lot of things about how to do things like this. Okay, course overview. So we're going to be guiding you through building a scalable production worthy you can put on that file server. By the end of the training, you should be equipped to should be able to do upload and download via an API file, configure Nginx to ensure fast and secure file delivery, then use Docker effectively to streamline your deployments. Okay. I made some assumptions that your PC has sufficient RAM to work with, that you are running something that has to do with Linux kernel. Yes, Mac is Unix, and boy, it can work, it should work to an extent. I can't just guarantee Windows users. I'm sorry, I'm not here to bash anyone. The reasons you see as I progress, because many things are based on Linux. It's my day-to-day operating system that I work with, and then it's also the operating system for the server I deploy to. So it makes sense to keep both in the same place and streamlined. Okay, so what are the cost advantages you're going to be seeing? Before I move further, I'd like to do a quick demo for you. So some things I would want to explain. This is a bash file. Okay, let me just say sublime. I'll post it here so that I can. So in the bash file that a lot of things are happening in it. Please, if you don't understand things about bash, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you for this course. It's not strictly based, but if there's anything you don't understand, please feel free later to watch this video. Pause the point where you don't understand that thing, go learn it and come back. There's a lot you will learn here. All these ones are commented out for now, or you can uncomment them to see what is happening. Here, I moved the file to server using SCP normal way of moving files at times. And then here, I tried to do some things at a server, all these things, and then I tried to call a token, and then I tried to echo the token just for my use, and then I tried to download the whole thing back. Please pay attention, okay? Here, I'm using this, but coincidentally enough, this is just an IP address on my local host. Okay, so if I ping this, you should see it's giving me 192.19.168, blah, blah, blah. If I ask for the IP address of my system, I'm on dot 96. It's accessing on that system on dot 193. So when you see this, you can't access this from outside my network here right now. So this is just another way of doing this IP and running a colon and everything. This is another training for another time or something you can learn on. It's not, we're not treating that here. So I'm going to run that file right now. And so we get acquainted with it. We'll wait for it to do some few things. It uploaded a course to a server. It ran migration here, Alembic. It created a user we can use. It got a token with the user. It downloaded a file back, and this is a file. And I can tell you, once I open this and I tell it to play, you can see it's playing. So it showed that it worked. I've removed that file just to prove to you. You can watch that place. So let's wait for it to do all the things it's doing. It's uploading a course, it's picking it from somewhere, and then it will download it back to this hard drive. So the next question, course, where is it picking it from? Inside the file, here we go. It's picking it from a location that I have the file saved in. The file exists there, so it moves it to my server at home, and then it does something. Now, what I did is a mixture of pushing something to a server using SCP and using API to call it down and everything. This course contains everything. There are lots of nuggets that I will encourage you to pay attention to, and you will get that. So what advantages do we have? You have secure file download. A lot of things that was built into this course. You can't download this file unless it's authenticated. Then there's a content disposition header where Curl will be able to, for instance, guess the name of the file based on these metrics to be able to pull it down. You could also use wget. It will get the name of the file. Otherwise, if you don't do it, you save the file as the file name with this question mark, and then token is equal to the long token it got. And you would like that. So how did we do that? It was handled here at server. This is where Lua came in to do it. Content disposition, picked the name of the file and stuff. So one advantage of what I did here is when you upload your file, it goes to a directory on your system. And we let Nginx serve that file 100%. And there is a neat way that this was done in the web code. In case you haven't heard before, Nginx has something called XSL redirect. So this basically makes Nginx serve the file back to you as a static file. But then we added authentication and all those things around that line so that it wouldn't be done by someone that is not authenticated. So you have to authorize, you have to get a token and all those things. They are all locked up here. Okay, so we have file size limitations. You can always change that in your Nginx configuration. You can efficiently upload streaming. You have fast resumable downloads, all the downloads resumable. You have optimized or setup. Database migrations, I added them. Alembic, to an extent so that you can make use of them. And more importantly, there is a part of this. I used Starlet. Starlet is something that Fast API is based on. So I used that framework alone. I didn't use Fast API because I just wanted the framework alone. I didn't want all the bells and whistles of Fast API just for the purpose of this demo. And it's production worthy, by the way. Okay. Um, I want to I want us to see something that was also added. Okay, so um, if you type make, there's a make file. Please hold on. If you type make, there's a make file here. It will give you some make things you can do. So I want to use interactive shell. For those of us who do Django, Django has interactive shell, but I had to build an interactive shell for this demo. Starlet does not have. And then once it loads, it tells you things you have access to, and you can do them here. So maybe from apps, maybe in models or something, it exists. What is in my directory? I have access to this, so I have my models. Do I have my models.user? Models.user. So I have my models.user. So I try to see anything you get from Django shell. So you have this here in case you can check out the source code to know more. Like I did say, there are a lot of nuggets here, but then we'll proceed. Okay, what are the potential use cases for the source code? You can use it as a backup solution. Yes, for whatever you need. You can stream your media, you can integrate it to your CI/CD pipeline, and then you have a time-saving workflow. So the applications we implemented, and that's the reason why we're here. We did system Docker, we used anchors and aliases, build minimal image usage and compression. For the reason why we're here, please focus your attention on this file. Once more, please, if you want to, you can go github.com/iTrooks. And once you get there, on the repository is the file server. Considering here we go. Here you find the source code here, and see all files. This is a file I'm with, and I just uploaded this 51 minutes ago, and here is the one we're going to be concentrating on. So remember the time I spoke about system user inside Docker. So when this application starts, if you run the make and you are to do the environment, you need to produce the environment variable first. So you type make e, it calls this code. So this code basically creates a file for you, and here is a sample of the file here. So if you check my system here, you see I am that's my user, I am. But then I also ensure that inside the container, I am is also used, PC user. And here is where I passed it to the container during the build. So it becomes accessible. And here we go. So eventually I created that same I am user that I'm on my local host inside a container. And what does this afford me? This can help me to run migrations. I'll give you an example. Okay, say I want to run migration now the way I've done these things. Let's just run a migration, maybe that something like this. Let's say migrations to add talks, something like that. When this works, all of that things being equal, it generated this file. Look, /apps/migration versions. This is inside the container. But then I have access to it on my main system here, and it doesn't have permissions issues. If you didn't do that, I can't clean this. It will tell you it's not possible. But I was able to do it. And then on my local host, I can style it. I have this code and it formats it for me instantly, and then I can proceed. Of course, I have nothing inside this place. I can develop it. I can delete it from my main system, and then it's also deleted inside the local host. So by optimizing and working efficiently, you ensure that you have same user in between. It's a lot of pain points for file permissions and everything. Please, a lot of people may cringe over this, may complain like, why is it doing that? It's this, is that. Maybe that's the way I know how to do my own. There could be several ways to go about this, but this is the one that has worked for me so far, and I haven't had issues with it. Okay. So having gone through that, I have shown the system user. Now there is something I've noticed over the years when people are building Docker. Here is an example. Here, I created a container named filehold. And when I come to my system, here is a container. So these things are just codes on my system. Work on your system. They are aliases. This is a file hold. It's running a dev null. Just stop it. It's not doing anything. Here is it, dev null. It just stops. So what did I achieve? I've seen people do compilation. They will put this build here, and then they will come back and repeat the same thing here. And then if you encounter internet issues or everything, probably you clean your build, it all starts afresh. It wastes time. It's not efficient at all. It's wasting bandwidth. Even if you have all the bandwidth on it, it's wasting your time, to be precise. So what do? We use anchors and aliases. There is, if you look at this place, the name of the service, we anchor it. And then we do what we want to do here. But the rule is this thing must not run a port like this. That first one. So I just put it as tail dev null. Is you could also do something like sleep infinity, whichever one that works for you. So by the time you run this on your terminal, when you put sleep infinity, it just stops there. And if it is the other one that you put there too, it just stops there. It doesn't do anything. So basically, it doesn't allow the container to exit. That's the whole essence of this. And since I'm holding on to this in the memory, it means I can always use this to administer the app. What can I use it for? I can use it to migrate. I can use it to do anything while allowing the main app to live by itself. When you're using an anchor, what you've put here might not be need for you to replace it in the other app. If you check the web app itself, for example, it doesn't have volumes anymore because it will inherit everything from this side. They are basically the same thing. They are the same app. They are accessing the same volume. They are the same thing. Nothing changed in them. So the only thing that changed is basically maybe I added log just to be specific. Then I gave it a command that, hey, you don't run the dev null, you run this command, then name should be this. That's it. That's it. Once more, this will help you save a lot of bandwidth. This would give you efficiency that you want compared to what exists out there. And then eventually the file server here is the Nginx, and one thing or the other, it depends on this web, that is the web app, and internally is running on 8.80, but externally is running on 16,000. However, mine isn't running on 16,000. If you go back to this file, I had to find a way to ensure it's running on something like this. Okay, let's go back to inside the Nginx file and see some funny things. If you come to this file, naturally, ideally, in this file, here is the full URL of the application. However, if I run it, it will end it instantly because I ensure that nobody can browse the front part. So this part you're seeing, is actually coming from another service that's proxy. Just for you to be aware that this is locally. You see my certificate. Here we go. My certificate is done with Mixart. Was generated on the 20th of this month, and then it can run for the bitwise and then all its subdomain, which are all this, and then my system can access it without telling me it's a security breach or something, but only on the system. So you can research on how to use Mixart for something like this. So we get our HTTPS and every other thing along the line with the bells and whistles. Okay, once more, the project is at this link, this URL, and you find all the necessary links that you need from it. So a little bit about this source code. The source code is actually Python-based Starlet, and it's contained here. Yeah. Okay, so I never actually needed this. I'll be deleting it. So there are just two files. Sorry. Within this source code, there are a lot of neat tricks in it. It will take you a while to probably take note of it. Sorry, I'm uploading this file. Shouldn't be. I shouldn't upload this file. Okay, I'll get back to that later. So like I was saying, there are just two files. The models file that contains the base model that will automatically attach this into it, and the user itself. Okay, so I want to log into the server, and then I'm going to SQLite. Oh no. I didn't know this is in here. So let me be quick to install the server and then get going. So do SQLite 3, and I give it the path to the file. It takes us into that file. So for SQLite, I can ask it for the tables it has, and then it shows me that. I can ask it for the schema, and it shows me the schema. So I want to bring to your attention. We'll get to that later. So select star from Alembic. Let's see that this is migration, and select star from users. And this is what it has for the user. So once again, if I tell it to dot schema for users, it gives me the schema for users. So you come back here for the base model. We have enabled, added on, updated at, enabled, added on, updated at as base model. Since it's inherited, it's Alembic is smart enough to put it at the end for us. So it goes to the end, it tags it to the end. But then when I was doing the migration with this model, this is the thing that Alembic was able to create. But then you will notice a conflict of interest, because here I told it, I said, hey guy, on updates, please put the present time in it and all those things. But then when it was creating its migration, it wasn't really enforcing those things. So I had to create another file that is a migration and manually added triggers. That's why you find triggers here. And then I set the trigger on before insert that I should update the users for the current time and everything. So when you're using Alembic, you should be very, very careful. Using SQL Alchemy or any of these ORMs, they will give you sometimes, oftentimes, the most minimal thing you need in your SQL query. Always check them out, And the beautiful thing about Alembic is you can actually check out what would happen before it happens. Okay, so for instance, um, if you type on the make here, there is this make part that if you type UHS, it will show you the whatever thing you have to migrate, the SQL it will generate. And it's safe for you to use a greater than symbol to output it to a file and review later. So when you're using Alembic, it may not really be to run the real migration, but to just check out what it's given. Oftentimes, those things it gives are just very minimal. You may need to alter to taste to ensure your data integrity. So what would happen? You could still have errors in your code in the sense that because you've used ORM or you've done migration, if you come from your app, within your app, all these things will be enforced. Except if those things are enforced at the database side in this form, some things can still have null values or invalid values because you came from the database side to put it in. And that's usually not interesting. Always pay attention. Your Django, your whatever, your SQL Alchemy, your ORM, SQL object, or whatever you have, always pay attention to what is being generated and ensure you get the right thing at the right time. The make file has a lot in it. So because I'm deploying on my home server, all these things are just they're just aliases. So I can just type make move, and then it will move this file into the server for me to run and test. And then part of the things we're considering, your optimizations, your minimal image usage, and your compression. So some of those things we find in Dockerfile, but let's pay attention here. So assuming you are done, if you do Docker images, you would see all the images you have on your system. So for this image, 3 MB, basically, as simple as that. Now, if I want to give you this to work with, I have added this part of make. You wouldn't need to stress it that much. So once more, if you type make, it will always give you the example. So make TA will tar and encrypt our image for us. And then it will ask for a password. If you don't want the password, please feel free to remove it. So I added password because I went extra step further to use GPG to encrypt it. And at the end of the day, you have this. So back to when I type Docker images. This image is 193, but the one that is GPG is 63 MB. And what does this mean? This means I may want to demo something to people, and I don't want to go through the stress of pulling everything, network issues, and I just send you this. You can also use the Docker platform, but these days there are some restrictions, so you're free to move it. I've worked in environments where it's not connected to the internet, but then you are building applications and you have to deploy and they are containerized. It's these images that you move around. It's not the app will never connect to the internet. So you need to find a way to get your Docker and your everything, but it can connect to the internet only for the admin to be able to install, update, and upgrade controlled things. Subsequently, nothing else will go on it. Those ones are another stage. So I have tagged this so I can send this to someone. And when I send it to the person uses this make ET. I'm sorry, I had coded this into it. Please don't castigate me for it. It's for the purpose of tutorials. So make ET will untar it for me, unencrypt it and load it back so that I can have this in my system. Okay, multi-stage build was added. We've not spoken about it. Stage one, we created a virtual environment because we're going to create a specific user. So I created a virtual environment, activated it, updated the pip, set up tools wheel, installed the things in requirement.txt, eventually removed it, installed IPython, and then I did some funny cleanups. In that stage, it's called a stage. This is a stage in Docker. Then this finishes, and I pick the base image once more, this, and then I started the next process. In this place, I eventually copied over the home because I had moved to the home directory down here. And then I added the bin to the path such that I can access it, so that inside the container, if you type Python, it will automatically point to the virtual env that we created. Then I created the user, activated the user, and then directed it to an app. So what does this afford us? Here is the base image 3.12.9/slim1 Python 3.12 base image, right here, 124 MB, the base image. And the thing we came up with, 193 MB. But this 193 MB has the source code, the libraries, and everything, nothing more, nothing else. If you had done an update, an upgrade, and everything inside it, you can be rest assured that it's going to be very higher than this value. And do not forget this side where we took hold, where we did get involved using one image for two things. Eventually, it was created here, and it's the same thing. Okay, so because they are running the same thing. You should also pay attention to the volumes that you map inside your system. So if you are going through this code, maybe you may have some funny time understanding what I did here. This place is referring to my home directory. So inside the container, I also refer to the same place. In the Nginx, difference is this, refers to this. However, it refers to another location in Nginx. And if you open Nginx, that location has an internal directive. And this internal means anybody that types /offload line, it will be a 404 for the person. It doesn't exist. It exists within the app, so it's a form of security. So basically, what I'm doing is I use container. Okay, so what I'm doing is I use container to point to a real place on my PC. I'm sorry. And I use Nginx to serve that, to serve files in that real place. Now this Nginx is in a container. And it's not going to be possible if I didn't use the type of user and permission and solve permission issues. So this is going to help you a lot. When I started with Docker, I had a lot of issues with permission here and there. But I tell you, these days, This has helped to solve all permission issues that I have, and I'm better for it right now. I think we've been speaking for some time now. Okay, so I think I'm done. If there are questions, please let me attend to it. Otherwise, you have source code, but then there are a lot of information inside it, a lot of information. So here is where I create a shell. Okay, so like I did say, if you type make sh, it will give you the shell, and once it does that, you can try this. I commented this out on purpose. And since we have a user there, it will work, but in this place, it won't work. I know the reason. The user I'm working with is on the user I'm working with, except yeah, there's no user there. He's on the server. Please don't forget, he's on the server. But this one I'm using to demo for you is on my own local, so I don't have any user inside it. But with shell, I've been able to show you that we could do this. So it has auto completion, session local. I tabbed it. It gives me the session. If I type from app, what I've done before, if I use the arrow key, it gives it to me and everything. So I try to put a shell to replicate what exists in Django. This is it. You can add more to it here as much as possible as you want. This is introduction file server shell, available things. As you add here, always add here to inform people things are available. But then it's not binding on you, honestly, to inform. But then it could just be good practice to do so. So right now, I'm done. Thank you very much. So who am I? Part 2. You can see those information in the tiny.cc/ICHUX link that I've mentioned. Thank you very much. Okay, so I see comments. Okay, Python Abia. Okay, thank you. The screen is too blurry, sir. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing this. Paul Odinaka, thanks. Yes, Kalu, the link to the repo. Kalu, I don't know. Okay, I've stopped sharing my screen. Present, share screen, entire screen. So, Kalu, I don't know. Please look at my browser. Here is the link. Here. I don't know if this is clear enough. So github.com/ichooks/file server. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Henry. Good day.
Yes,
Ashford.
iTrooks, thank you so much for your session. I really do appreciate your time. For people online, please, are there questions? Okay, there is a question here for you. Somebody is trying to confirm, Paul Evie is trying to know if he will be able to have access to the video. Yes, yes, Paul Evie, yes, the video is on YouTube, just the same link that you are connected to at the moment. So you'll be able to make reference to the video anytime, any day that you want. And we also have other videos too on the channel. So if you check, you'll see several items and videos that have been uploaded for now. Yeah, so please, if you have questions, you can drop them on chat. Let's engage.
Hello. Okay. Thanks for coming. So if you have any questions, 2NN, he said he couldn't see anything, but I hope that got better in time. I think Dr. Kayode, I think I know this person, or is it professor or something? I can't remember. Still waiting. Are there any questions? Please throw it. So maybe a quick recap for those who said they didn't see it. Like I said, I wouldn't know at what point. So uh, feel free to use any of the contacts to reach out to me.
Sorry, your screen is not up yet.
Me? Can
Your
you tell me?
screen is not up yet.
Okay. Hi about now. Is it okay now? Jet me. Can anyone confirm if they can see my screen? Can anyone confirm they can see my screen?
Oh, yeah, sorry, your screen is not up yet. It's still out.
Okay. So sharing it once more. Please confirm it's up.
Oh, yeah, it's up now.
Okay, thank you very much, Jetemi. For a quick recap, for those that might have missed one or two things, I spoke about how to optimize things, building in double stage. Stage one, you do your thing, and then stage two, you begin to pull what you've done in step one into step two. An example is this place where I said from builder, use this guy, step one, pick everything in the home to the home. But don't forget that I had started working in the home. I had a virtual environment. So there's a slash home slash dot env for the virtual environment. The copies from the builder is going to exist in the new part. Leave it behind every other extra things that existed here. Then I set the path. Then I created a user that I picked from my system. It's a little hack that can only work on Linux kernel, this type of thing. I'm not sure about Windows. I know Windows has a lot, but seriously, I didn't test this on Windows. So I used sed to do some hacks that I did. Automatically, if you are using a Linux kernel, this will work. Yes, it should work for you. All other things being equal. So I spoke about this, and then I spoke about this build. Instead of some people doing things like maybe in some places you could see people do something like this. could see people do things like this. They will build this step one. I've seen this a lot, even in big companies out there. I've seen this a lot. They'll build this step one and then build this step two. So this will take its time to build. This will take its time to build. They will replicate everything they have here. And there is no difference. The only difference is I just want to use this interface to use to manage this for migrations, for the shell, for every other thing. That's why I created this. But then you see them replicating things. Okay, so basically, um, that's that. So you see this method here. Okay. Um, I also spoke of the shell. It was very simple. This is a hack. It was funny because I needed to pass the .env into this point, and it was going to be messy for me. So I had to go through the source code. And as I was going through the source code, I realized that the environment variable could be none. Okay, so if it is none, neatly enough, since it's well designed, this is inside Starlet. By the way, the Starlet app was built
Sorry, I took you
with
are
a guy who
muted.
wrote Django REST framework. He did a lot of work, you know. So I noticed that we could set the file value. So what I did was to, since inside this place, we already passed the .env and the environment variables are present inside. So I just use the os.environ. I did this and passed it back. And if you,
Sorry, I took. We can't hear you. You are muted at the moment.
I'm not, can you hear me now? Someone said the screen is still not up. Can you hear me now? I'm not
No, still
muted.
not up. We still can't hear you.
I'm not muted. I'm not. I'm not muted.
Oh, great. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. So apologies. So like I did, if you do make sh and it goes in and it tells you have access to the config, so you can do config.get anything that you have inside the .env that existed, for instance, the token expiry minutes. So we can try to get this. I'm sorry. As you can see, it tallies with what I have here. And for instance, if I want to do the development, fine. It's true that we have AI and they can do almost a lot of things for us. Honestly, at times, nothing beats going through the source code because just some few minutes before I started this training, I had this issue of how do I pass the dot easily to the shell without resorting to some dirty tricks. And it was just the source code. I was able to see the hack, and then here we are. Some people would know about it, of course, but I just got to know about it by going through the source code. So you have the session local. The session local comes from the session, make just the session that we've created. So in this app, you could also see the naming convention with the metadata, and then the base. The base was uh, swallowed up by the base model, which the user and every other wants to inherit. So any model creates and it comes from this. When we are done, it would append this to it. However, I noticed that SQLite has issues updating later from Alembic. It's going to be a lot of hacks. So for the purpose of this training, SQLite is fair enough. But seriously, if you are building something big, you know what to do and how to go about it. And then at that point, this might not be properly arranged. You might need to do one or two things inside. And then I went through the documentation, I found them there. So you might need to go through the documentation to be able to find answers to your type of issues. Or maybe you ask the AI, the model, you might know about it. It might just spill out rubbish. Okay. So I think that's it. So you have access to this. You have access to the source code. Just take your time to go through it. I'll add some more documentation how to go about it to the README, which is missing for now. And I think I ignored something here. I was supposed to put star MP4, which wasn't present, and that was making me upload what does not exist. Okay. Yeah. So I'll need to fix this later, and then I'll do it. These are some essential files that have been ignored, by the way. So I'm putting some finishing touches, and I'll push this. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm done for now. Except there are any more questions. It's almost an hour. Thanks for coming for our talk. So, Dilly, I'm done. You can take over and address the community. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello.
hear you. I've left one of
All
the
right.
systems.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your presence. I think we would like to call it a day. Of course, you can forward your questions to Ross via the LinkedIn and Slack channel for those of us on the Slack. Just take your questions up any way you can find us. Either through mail or just through the same channel, that is the YouTube channel. So we appreciate every one of you. We thank you and see you next time. Bye bye.